There are a whole plethora of reports out this morning that the administration is reconsidering providing lethal assistance to the Ukrainian government. Would you care to address those?
Well, Matt, we are constantly assessing our policies on Ukraine to ensure they are responsive, appropriated, and calibrated to achieve our objectives. We are particularly concerned about recent escalating separatist violence and separatist attempts to expand the territory they currently control further beyond the ceasefire line agreed to in Minsk, as well as the increasing toll of civilian and military casualties.
Okay, so it sounds like you're not saying no, that these reports are wrong. Is it accurate then to say that this kind of assistance is now part of the conversation?
Well, we haven't taken options on or off the table, Matt. It's an ongoing discussion. Obviously, we take into account events on the ground, but I don't have anything to lay out for you in terms of internal deliberations.
Well,
why would the president want to get into a proxy war with Russia?
Well, I don't think anybody wants to get into a proxy war with Russia. And that is not the objective. Our objective here is to change the behavior of Russia. That's the reason that we've put the sanctions in place. We certainly want to help Ukraine, a sovereign government, thrive and go through this transition period. No decisions have been made. I'm talking about the fact that we, of course, preserve the right to consider a range of options.
Gorbachev had it right. We're in a new Cold War with Russia. The epicenter of the new Cold War is not in Berlin like the last one, but it's right on Russia's borders, so it's much more dangerous. You and I have talked about this since February, I think. What I foresaw in February has played out, I regret to say. A political dispute in Ukraine became a Ukrainian civil war. Russia backed one side, the United States and NATO the other. So it's not only a new Cold War, it's a proxy war. We're arming Kiev. Russians are arming the eastern fighters. And I think, though I don't want to spoil anybody's day, I said to you in February this had the potential to become a new Cuban Missile-style confrontation with the risk of war. That's where we are now, and I think Gorbachev was right.
There was a ceasefire reached in September. What's happened since then?
Well, it was never honored in full, and the primary problem was, there were many provisions of the ceasefire which were supposed to stop the fighting in the east and lead to direct negotiations between the rebel government or fighters, we call them separatists. They weren't separatists when all this began, but now they're separatists. They don't want to live with Kiev any longer, but it was supposed to lead to negotiations. The main thing that happened is it required both sides to pull back their artillery, primarily Kiev, because Kiev was bombarding the capital cities of eastern Ukraine, Lugansk and Donetsk. That artillery was never pulled back. It was supposed to be 30 kilometers. How far back they pulled them, I don't know. But as you know, in the last week, those cities have been bombarded again. So the ceasefire was honored kind of marginally in the breach for a couple of months. But about a week ago, 10 days ago, the fighting escalated. Now there's a dispute because it eliminated the possibility of negotiations again. Who began the escalation? The State Department, you heard Psaki say it was Russia and Russian agents. Russia and the rebels say it was Kiev. But we're in a fog of war. That expression comes from World War I, I think, when there was so much misinformation, we didn't have email then, and it traveled more slowly, that the perception of what was going on was distorted, corrupted by news, and it led to war. The fog of war today derives from this, and it's worse because it moves so fast on social media news, is that you've got all this misinformation coming out of Kiev, out of Moscow, out of Washington, and for the three of us to sit here and say who threw the first punch 10 days ago is almost impossible.